Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Eddie Austin BEX here again with my friend Scott Kidd. We are recording episode number 3 on the Inner Compass. Today's episode is going to be all about keeping your mind clean. What does that mean? What does it really mean? So, we were doing some research before this, and Gandhi stated, "I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet." I got to say that resonates with me because there's been several times throughout my journey that I had to just stay, no, I'm not about to engage in this conversation. I'm not about to go through this activity because I don't need the negative restraints
hmm
that this conversation might put on me. So Scott, man, let's get it kicked off. Let's episode 3 here.
Episode 3, Scott Kidd, glad to be here. I will not let you walk through my mind with your dirty feet. That just really resonates with me too, because sometimes when, especially going back to our second, episode 2, where we're talking about that being that future you, it's once you've already set that goal and you're walking your way back, you don't want to walk along with other people that are going to have that level of toxicity that are going to hold you back. Maybe not even intentionally, but maybe they're not in line with your thought process and what you're doing. Maybe they're holding you back because they don't think they can do it, so they exude that level of negativity on you because, oh man, that's a bit much, and we've all made some big goals and stuff for ourselves, and we've attained them a lot of times by just one, getting very clear, and going
Yep.
back to that whole clarity of purpose to
Yep.
get there. And once we have that, it's about putting in everything that you're aligned with to get to that point. And if you don't have that, you don't just shrug off everything and anyone. It doesn't mean you don't talk to anyone that isn't aligned with your purpose, but when you're in that moment and you're working on those things, you have to just stay on task until you get done, and to where you get to the point where, okay, I can't do anymore, and then you take a break.
Yeah.
Because when you're at that level of things are moving, you got to just keep up that momentum.
Well, I recently read this book for the second time this year. I read it once last year, twice this year so far, and it's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And
Okay.
several times in that book, it goes into how people of kind of the law of manifestation and how we can through divine intervention kind of manifest or manipulate our own destination unwillingly, because we're not paying attention to our subconscious thoughts and the words we're saying. It's like the difference between saying, "Hey, I'm going to try to dock this boat," instead of saying, "I'm going to dock this boat."
hmm
Or, that's the difference. As a lot of people say, "I'm going to try to get this done."
Yeah.
Why don't you stop trying to get it done and just get it done? And, that's a switch as
Yeah,
well.
it definitely is. You know, I had a coach, Dr. Jamil, and he said, don't ever say, I'm trying. That's the first step to failure, because it gives yourself an out if it doesn't work out.
Yes.
Say, I'm doing this. And then your brain locks in and says, oh, he's going nowhere. It's
Right.
like I've heard David Goggins say that a lot. Like when you start saying that, you have that positive self talk. Like when your brain and your body realizes that you're going to keep going regardless, it goes,
Right.
and you get to that next level of, okay, we're not going anywhere. Brain or body is going to have to fall apart before we quit.
That's right.
So
And, the mind will stop us way before the body's at its limits, from what I've found, especially through my weightlifting and everything I've done with sports and just anything in general, is our body can handle way more than our mind will allow it.
yes.
And, coming back to keeping the mind clean, sometimes we decide that we're going to do something really cool. Say we're
hmm
going to become real estate investors. We're going to become a yacht captain. We're going to become a pilot. Or, most commonly when it's in a sense of making money, a lot of us want to tell friends and family about this new venture, and we decide to share it with them, not even thinking about, we're just excited and we're ready to
Mm-hmm.
share it. Hey man, I'm buying my first 80 unit property,
Mm-hmm.
and you're excited about it, you're pumped up, and then you call your mom and dad, and I'm not saying this was the case with my mom and dad, but you call them up or you call up your best friend and they're like, oh man, my uncle, he lost
Lots of sure.
everything in real estate.
Yeah.
He rented properties out, and he was answering the phone at 12 o'clock at night, and instantly your level of energy starts to come down. And then you've got
Yeah.
this other person, you're going to call your sister up, and your sister's like, yeah, Eddie, that sounds like a lot of work. I wouldn't do that. And before you know it, the excitement leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, man, how did I go from so excited to just being left with, am I even doing the right thing?
Then you,
And I think that some of it becomes, it's unintentional. It's because they love you, right?
yeah.
They don't want to see you get hurt. They want to protect you, but sometimes protecting other people is not the best thing. Sometimes you just encourage them and, hey, let them take their own risk.
Yeah. And, I was thinking about while you're talking about that is, a lot of times our brain has those safety triggers in them to where it will, that's why we're cautious a lot of times because we don't want to put our things into what is potentially in our brain a perceived, um, you know, bad situation. Whereas if, and you'll fall in a line and you'll start thinking about when, say, your sister says, well, Eddie, I don't know if I would do that. Then you start second guessing yourself, and then your brain goes to that safety. Well, maybe I shouldn't do it because then then you go into the what ifs, and that's that spiraling downward of thoughts that maybe, hey, this isn't for me. But you can turn it around to where you can spiral upwards.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, well, maybe, how did I get so excited about this? Oh, I was talking to Johnny because he had just bought 120 units, him and
Yeah.
his team, and they said they got another one coming, and they said that I can step in, and if I can maybe raise some money or organize the loan, or maybe go do some of the due diligence, some of the walkthroughs, I can be on part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go revisit that and go talk to them again. And then, not that you don't want to not talk to your family or anything, because you love your family and everything else, but
Right.
maybe you show them the way of how this is a good thing for you, and then
Of
when
course.
they'll come around, they love you, they'll come around to that, and then maybe they might get involved later on, or maybe they might still have those caution triggers and those little red flags that come up, and they might not never do it, and you just have to be okay with it,
Yeah.
and so do
Well,
they.
I totally agree. And it's so wise. And I also think about, if you go back to your childhood, fear is learned, right?
Hmm.
It's not a habit. It becomes a
Yeah.
habit the more times we learn to be afraid of things.
Hmm.
But when we're young, like when we were young, and getting out there riding our bicycle and doing things that we did when we were younger, setting up ramps on some unstable
Yeah.
4x4s and a bucket, and just anything to be cool, right? To raise our
Yeah. Yeah.
status in front of somebody that's watching.
Yeah.
You had no fear.
No.
You didn't even know what getting cut felt like.
Hmm.
Everything we've learned throughout childhood taught us to be afraid of some things, and maybe careful with others. Maybe not afraid of it, but maybe set it up on a little more stable platform before ramping your
Hmm.
motorcycle or bicycle.
Yeah.
Um, because of that, and some people just give up. But
Yeah.
fear is, if you break it down, in my opinion, fear is fake evidence appearing real.
Yes.
And how do we remove fear, really? And it's like when you're crawling around and you're learning to walk, your why is so big because you
Hmm.
see other people walking.
Hmm.
And you think that falling down is just part of the journey. You don't know any
Hmm.
better. You don't know any different. Nobody's telling you that you shouldn't fall down, because everybody that's ever raised a child, they're like, let them fall.
Yeah.
Like, maybe hold some guardrails around them, but let them fall. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only way they're going to learn. You got to crawl, and then you got to walk. You know, you got to hold on to something. The next thing you know, you're walking across the room, and it's the happiest day ever because that kid walked across the room. But you
Yeah.
did it because you had no fear. But if you got hurt so many times, you would be afraid to let go of the coffee table and walk to the couch.
Yeah, that's right.
But because you see other humans walking around, like you want to walk, like you're like, I want to do what mom and dad do. I want to do what my sisters and brothers do.
Yeah.
So you're driven to take these steps without holding on to anything. But I think when we get older, we start to put on the bubble wrap, and our
Yeah.
friends and family
And the
start to put the
helmets
bubble
and
wrap. And it's like, I don't want that. Like, I
yeah.
want to fall down a little bit.
Well, and it's, I think I remember there was a Seinfeld episode where, what is this bowling with the no gutter balls? It's all
Yeah.
gutter balls. You got to get it in. If you bowl without gutter balls, then what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your analogy of jumping the ramp. I remember when we were kids and we were in Texas, and Texas had those long driveways. There's a construction site right next there,
Yeah.
and my brother was really good at. He was pretty fast on the bike or whatever, and we built this ramp as you do, And we built this ramp, and it went up like two things, and then on the other side was like a pretty busy street.
Yeah.
Well, he came flying down there, tearing down there. He jumped, went, and then he landed, and he broke the bike, like the gooseneck broke in half. It rolled over, went into the street, got run over by the car. We went. Everyone's yelling at us and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We went and got the bike back, and we went. We went back, and everyone's still yelling. Neighbors are coming out, and
Yeah.
the first thing that came out of our mouths was, "We got to build a bigger ramp."
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we continue, because obviously that was a success because he went flying way
Yeah.
higher and further than we anticipated. So how do we do that again, like go even further?
Yeah.
So like how do we maintain that energy or find that that thought process again? Because when we get older, like you said, we put on the guardrails, we put on the helmet, we put on, we also put on the seatbelts, which are a good thing. But
Right.
but there's some things that we really gotta let go and say, hey, this is gonna be okay. I walked myself back from that big hairy goal that's way out. That's actually, after I walked myself back, it's not as far as I think it is. It's
Yeah.
actually, it's right there. I just got to do these steps and get past what other people are saying, because a
Yeah.
lot of times you have to cast that aside and just say, well, that's okay, and not really let it take any of your energy, and
Yeah.
that's a very difficult thing to do. But like surrounding yourself with more people that are way out there than back here right there with you right now, I think that's an easier path where they might shine a light on your path at nighttime, where it might get a little dark. Maybe they shine a little light on it for you to show
Yeah.
you the way to that, and that's something that I've always thought about, and that just always, that's why I make a conscious effort to always meet more people and try to get new people, because I've met a lot of people recently, especially like younger people, and I get really excited when I see young people that are doing stuff that, I was like, hey, I never thought about that,
Yeah.
and it feeds your energy. And actually that day after I met that person, I was like on a high that, like, man, so that kid's doing this. And I was like, really, it made me excited to do what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's for sure. And I love helping the younger generation because our youth is our future. And,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to dirty up their mind with
Yes.
a bunch of, hey, you can't do this, you can't do this. I want to
Yeah.
empower the younger
Yeah.
generation. I hope that the younger generation is listening to these episodes and it's helping them. And maybe they've got an uncle, mother, brother, dad that is maybe not the most financially stable,
Mm-hmm.
or the most financially independent,
Yeah.
And they're in a household that they kind of leave and they go watch the people that's jumping the big ramps and stuff
Hmm.
like that, and realizing that, hey, other people do this, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And they see that, and they grow this great big vision, and they get so excited they're ready to do it, and they meet people like us that just breed empowerment in others. And I think that's really the journey, is the ability to go out here and change mindsets. I know growing up, man, I can't was not a word that we were allowed to use at all.
Oh wow, that's a great thing that really needs to be taught more, because a lot of people I know, and especially like when I was younger too, I was encouraged to do some things, but I was discouraged to do a lot of other things, or not encouraged in certain ways to do other things. And it was
Mhm.
until I got out and did my own thing that I realized that there's a lot of other things. There's a whole world out there of stuff that I can do. Really, you can kind of, whatever you decide to focus on, it'll grow and it'll become whatever you want it to be. If you focus on all that negative things, or if you focus on what other people are telling you that you can't do, more than likely you won't do any of those things that you really wanted to do. And you know, it's a much harder thing to be older and regret things you didn't do than regret things that you did do, because you did those things, you took that action, you went for it. Maybe it didn't work out, but hey, at least you can say, hey, I took a shot. And if you have kids and stuff, at least your kids will go, hey, he took a shot,
Yeah,
but it didn't work out, but he went for it, and he did it again, and he did it
right.
again, and he kept going. And there's something to be said about that.
Well, I think that the most expensive thing that will ever happen to you is the shot you never take.
Hmm.
The deal that you said no to is probably going to be the one that makes you the most money.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, just like Henry Ford was so wise with his words of, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Hmm.
And that's the total truth. And I mean, truly,
Yeah.
growing up, I think about things that, if I went into this as, man, I don't know that I can accomplish this, it was the hardest journey ever.
Yes.
But when I said, I know I can do this,
Yeah.
somebody else did this before me, I
Yeah.
know that I can do this. It's
Yeah.
possible. And if I never, ever let the doubt creep in, man,
Yeah.
the rest was just history. I mean, it's a journey, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, I heard a really, really good saying last night, actually. Taking off is optional, but landing is mandatory.
Yeah.
And that's so true, because, hey, if things aren't right, hey, we're not going to take off. We're going to power down.
Abort.
We're going to heavy on the
Abort.
brakes. We're going
Yeah.
to abort. And,
Yeah.
and we can say, no, we're going to reset. We're going to try again. But
You're
once
up
you
there.
take off, you got to land that thing. Now, don't get
you,
me wrong, you
you
can land
got it.
hard, but it's going
Yeah.
to be best on you and the plane if you
Yeah.
land softly to the best of
Yeah.
your ability. But
You
that's
know,
mandatory.
that's Yeah, that's mandatory. And I was just thinking of something that I remember. I think there's a saying by Bruce Lee: "Be careful of talking to yourself negatively, because your cells are listening."
That's
Uh,
true.
you- And
Yeah.
and and it's never talk down to yourself. Maybe give yourself some criticism, but try to learn from it and say, okay, I learned that by doing
Yeah.
this and this and this. But don't just like beat yourself up, because I used to have a bad habit of doing that. And I know we got into it where you were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about
Yeah.
you were the negative Nelly, and you
Yeah.
just, oh man, what's going on, Eddie? Oh man, and
Yeah.
I've done that too. I've been there. And had I until I had that mindset switch where, hey, that's not true. Hey, I can do this.
Hmm.
How do I do this? Who do I need to find to do this? Like, who do I need to be around that's going to expedite this?
Yeah.
Who's going to energize me? Or, it may not be somebody that's aligned with what you're doing, but maybe they have that energy that they're doing something. Like when I talked to those younger people early this week, and they gave me a lot of energy. Like,
Yeah.
man, they're doing these things. And and this one kid, he just kind of, he's starting something new, and he walked away from everything he was doing, and he went and he's moved back to his hometown. He said, I'm doing this. I'm going all in on this and doing this, this, and this. And, the first thing I said is like, what can I help you with? What do you need so we can get you from this to
Yeah.
this? Because I like what you're doing. I love what your energy, and, the kid had a big heart. He's going to help a lot of people. And, how can you not be energized from something like that?
Yeah.
So, and that, like I said, that gave me a lot of energy that day with what I was doing. I got on the calls with a bunch of people, and I helped a few people through with what they were doing. And it was just a great day,
Yeah.
and it just, it's something to be said about just, and I think you were saying when we were at that conference that if someone has negative energy within 5 feet of you or something like that,
Yeah.
it falls off on you and kind of gets you in that thing. But if someone has positive energy, it breeds and gets
Yeah.
bigger and
It's the,
bigger.
it's really they're within 15 feet, 30% of the negative energy from a person transfers to you.
Oh wow.
If a person is in 15 feet with positive energy, only 15% of that positive energy will transfer to you. So that means you got to
Okay.
have two people to just cancel it out. You need three
The
people with
negative.
positive energy
Ah,
just to make the higher of
be
the
ahead.
mountain.
To be
Yeah,
ahead. That's why they say misery loves company, I guess,
that's the
and
truth. It really is.
because it does bring that, and most of what we call the world and everything else is majority of his energy. It's
Mhm.
a small amount of his matter. So if the energy is negative, then that'll have a bigger tendency to bring everything down. But so we just got to be we got to amp up our positivity game,
That's right.
Eddie.
Yeah, that's right. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've been in conferences and stuff like that. And they said, man, Eddie, during this conversation, man, I've had goosebumps. I've had chills. Like you're a breath of fresh air. Like,
Nice.
you always want to leave with this. I had that aha moment during our
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And
Nice.
that's when I get the goosebumps and the chills is because I'm like, you just did that for somebody else. You gave them that aha moment. And
Yeah.
that's what they were coming here to accomplish is to get that one thing, like that one aha moment.
Yeah, it's a special thing, when you can get somebody to that point where you have an impact on them, and it flips a switch on it, and what might seem to be a small moment for you or just another conversation, it might have been life changing for them. And
Yeah.
we've all had those moments, and those moments, the more positive you are, those moments come more and more frequently because you're on that
Yeah.
frequency.
When you're in the right space, I think the most gratifying blessing that I've ever heard is there was two gentlemen that walked up and it was on like day 2 of a 3-day conference. And they said, Eddie, and they put their hand on my shoulder and they said, we were hoping that we would meet the one person here that was going to change the spectrum, that was going to change everything for us. And you're that person.
Oh,
You, you're
nice.
you are that person that we were supposed to meet. Like we knew that we needed to come here to meet
Nice.
somebody. We didn't know who that was going to be. And you're not on the stage, so therefore you're out here in the crowd. And man, you're that person we were supposed to meet, man. And this is exactly what we were trying to fix in our portfolio, was trying to figure
Perfect.
out what we were doing wrong. And you just like gave it away. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I feel like you're supposed to take the things that you struggled with and you're supposed to give that experience to somebody else in a positive mindset, a positive
Mm-hmm.
manner to help them. Like I think that we're born to help other people. Like I always used
Yeah.
to say when I ran big crews was like, hey, let's go make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And to some degree we were. Everything that
Mm-hmm.
we were doing, we were improving things that we were doing. So we were making the world a better place. But the cool part is I immediately cleaned their mind out. I'm like, look, if you're having a bad day, things are going on, leave it at the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Today, right here, right now, we're going to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes when I'd walk past them, after lunch, I'd be like, "Hey, how we doing? We're making the world a better place, man."
Nice.
So
Nice.
that positivity stayed with it. I
Yeah.
think it's like, I don't know if it's Jim Rohn, maybe.
I think
Um,
so.
no, it was Steve Harvey talks
Steve
about
Harvey. Oh,
the
I love
factory
Steve
workers
Harvey.
in the mine. Like
Yeah.
when you wake up, like, "Hey, Steve Harvey said we're going to have a good day. Everybody start working on the good things in life." Like the mind starts going towards the good stuff.
Yeah, no, that's so true because it's funny because a lot of times what I got from the first captain I worked for, he always said, "Hey, let's leave all our problems on the dock and let's have a safe, fun trip."
Yeah,
And just by him saying that, it's like, all right, let go the lines, because we don't need to be concerned with anything that's on the land.
yeah,
It's here. It's a here and now. It's the present.
yeah,
What we're dealing with, and you can carry that through to so many things. And what you're doing at that moment. Be present and focus on putting those people around you, and searching out those people. And a lot of times, what it takes is just being that positive person that you will attract that other person. Tell other people what you're working on. Hey, we're working on this thing. We're going to close these 5 apartment deals in the next 5 years, and we're going to have 1,000 units. And we're like, oh, you're doing that? Well, my cousin does that, and then that cousin might be the person that you need to meet. Like, oh, hey, he's selling his building.
yeah,
And the next thing you know, you talk to them, and it'll attract all those people and those things that you need. And you'll find that if you spend more time doing that, focusing on moving towards that goal by making that plan initially, those steps will start coming more and more natural, because you'll already be that person that's already attained it. And
yeah,
then that person will attract all those things that are already necessary, that'll automatically be there. And what you thought might have been a stretch goal to be, to take you 5 years, you might do it in 2,
yeah,
or you might do it in a year. And you might not know where it's going to take you after that, because you always get to that goal and you go, well, what now?
yeah. Of course. Well, I think that throughout the journey of things that we're doing in life, we learn certain ways to tell people about our big dreams and our big goals unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do that, we're rewarded because
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed when I stayed silent and just worked behind the scenes that I didn't get a lot of exterior support. Not that I need that, I'm searching for that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I've went in big rooms and spoke and said, my dream is to make $100 million a month, and then I tell people why that's important to me, and they see that it's not egotistic or prideful, there's people that walk up and are like, I want to be a part of that, and I believe
Yeah.
that I attach to that dream. And
Yeah.
if the dream is not big enough, it means that we can't put enough people on the wagon.
Yeah.
And because there's not enough profit centers for everybody to do that. But if the dream is big enough, there's room for everybody on the boat.
Yeah. And if your why is big enough and people see that, hey, he's the guy. Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, he said he's going to do it, and I already believe that he can do it because he said it with such confidence, and he
Yes.
didn't have a big ego, and in his mind, he's already there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to get on for a ride. Let's get on for this ride, because there was a guy I worked for. He wrote this book called "Pleased but Not Satisfied," and one of the things in
Yeah.
his book was be um, egos are one thing, but having a big ego to where it overshadows everything everyone else is doing can be very negative. But if you have to have an ego big enough to where you have confidence, to where you've already done that, or you can achieve those things, because without the confidence, you probably won't get there. But you need to have a certain level of confidence to try, and then once you succeed a little bit, you gain a little more confidence, and you get further and further and further along. But try to always keep your ego in check, because if I don't think that resonates and brings more people in.
Yeah.
It has a tendency to be off-putting to a lot of people, because it's a sense that maybe people think that maybe you might think you're just a little bit ahead of everyone or a little bit above of everyone. So it can be very negative.
Yeah. This just came to me. Our shadow casts bigger than we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our ego can cast a bigger shadow than we are and make us feel like that we are much bigger than we actually are in person.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes we overextend ourselves and maybe over exaggerate on things because we attach ourselves to the shadow that we see, the shadow
Mm-hmm.
that we're casting, instead of level setting and being vulnerable and saying, this is as big as I am.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
6
okay.
foot tall and I'm this much poundage and this is who I am.
Yeah.
Not attaching ourselves to this great big shadow that we cast.
Yeah.
And that right there is just how the sun shows.
Yeah. And that's very true, because we don't want to portray that we're bigger than we are, because
Correct.
that's not who we are, and it's not genuine. And if you're genuine, people will resonate. People got on board with you because you said it with confidence. You said it, this is what I'm doing, and it was genuine. You were there was and you made no mistakes about it, or no, you know didn't make any excuses about it. You said, this is what I'm doing, and very confidently people will go, oh, he's doing that.
Yeah.
He's done it. Okay, that's the guy. That's our guy.
Right.
And then by you bringing more people, that will just feed the fact that your confidence in your abilities and everything, and that you can help other people along the way, because together we go far. We
Yeah.
go much further than we can go alone.
Yeah. I
There's
think I think episode 4 should be thinking bigger,
yeah,
because there's nothing wrong with thinking really big. I think there's
yeah,
something grossly wrong with thinking too small
yes,
and getting to the end of our life and realizing we meet the person we were supposed to be and
yeah,
we just played small the whole time. And maybe we see a small short clip of who we were supposed to be,
yeah.
and man, you don't even recognize yourself because they were so far advanced.
Yeah, I think that should definitely be uh, thinking big. That should be the next one, because I know a lot of times in my life I was thinking too small.
Yeah.
And now thinking back and looking back, and I don't regret any of it, because it got me to where and who I am today, which
Sure.
I'm a very happy person and everything else. But thinking smaller was more out of in context with where I was thinking and in that moment, whereas now, um, the thought of not thinking big or going big, I don't know if I can live with
Yeah, that's the thing, man. That's the truth. So,
that.
man, this has been another amazing episode. Just totally satisfied with what we're doing here. And I
Yeah,
look
me
forward to
too.
it every single week when we do
Yeah,
this recording. And, we're getting ready to launch these. So, hey, if you're seeing it, that means that we've launched. And just please share this with other people. If this resonated
yes,
with you, share it with somebody else. Spread the love. Be infectious. Just pass the love, share it. The most extraordinary thing I've ever seen is other people helping other people,
yeah,
holding the door for somebody, and helping an old person into their car or something like that is just totally amazing. Or giving away a quarter bottle of washer fluid and looking weird in front of the entire gas station. You could be doing
in
that.
case you.
And I was headed to Nashville yesterday. My daughter's been driving my car, and I jump in my car, and I seen washer fluid low, and I walked in the garage, and there was no washer fluid, and I said, "Here we go again. Here we go again.
Oh man,
I'm going to look weird at the gas station trying to give quarter bottle away simply
Oh man,
because I don't want to pour it just on the ground, and I don't want to throw it in the trash can, make it heavy for the service worker."
hey, if I'm around and you're giving away the washing fluid, I'm going to film it, and then we're going to film it every time. We're going to call it the Eddie Austin window washer series.
Yeah, there we go. Absolutely, man. Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and I was like, here we go again. I should be videoing this. I should set up a GoPro somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, that wouldn't be weird. That wouldn't be weird at all.
The GoPro sitting on top of the car.
On top of your head.
Would you like this? Maybe I get one like a cop. I put my GoPro right here in the center of my chest.
Yeah. Oh man.
Like washer fluid.
The washer fluid police.
Yeah,
oh, man.
Absolutely. Man, Scott, where can people find you?
Yeah. Oh well, you can find me at investwithscottkid.com. It's got all my podcasts and everything. The Yacht Captain Investor podcast and all the things we're working on. Look forward to connecting with you guys. And like Eddie said, please share these with other people. Comment, like, and just spread the goodness that you can.
Absolutely. So Eddie Austin BEX here. You can find me on EddieAustinBEX.com. Eddie Austin BEX on all social media platforms. We look forward to recording episode number 4 that's going to be all about thinking bigger.
Thinking bigger.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.